Howdy, folks. Today we're talking how to turn ordinary cityscapes into full-blown movie poster photographs, and why today's guest sometimes returns to the same shooting location over 80 times just to get the perfect shot. Right after this. Welcome to Camera Shake, where we bring you the insider scoop on all things photography and videography, giving you a unique opportunity to stay ahead of the curve. We've spent literally hundreds of hours interviewing some of the most renowned photographers of our time, giving you access to knowledge and expertise that's not available anywhere else. As always, I'm your host, Kirsten Lutz, and hey, if you haven't already, make sure you sign up to the Camera Shake mailing list over at camerashakepodcast.com. We've got some awesome stuff coming up soon, so make sure you get your name on that list, and it's going to be very soon. So, if you're not on it already, head over to camerashakepodcast.com and make sure you sign up for that. Now, without further ado, though, let's give it up for today's special guest, photographer, filmmaker, educator, and the man behind some of the world's most cinematic cityscapes. Give it up for Serge Ramelli. Serge, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. What a welcoming.
We're very, we're well known for our intros. I think that's that's fair to say. Serge, I want to get straight into it. What's your take on how AI is reshaping photography right now? Do you think it's a threat? Is it an opportunity, or maybe a bit of both?
I think it's an opportunity, and I'll tell you why. Me and Scott Kelby did an interview actually last week or the week before of the head of Google, who runs Nano Banana and who runs VO3. So the model that creates images and the model that creates video, like the big boss over it. It was a 1-hour interview. And he said something which I thought is very true about AI. He says what they're trying to do at Google, because honestly, Google and Nano Banana, which is now in Photoshop, for me is the most powerful AI I've experienced with. It says it raises the floor and raises the ceiling. What he means by that is a lot of people who couldn't do art are getting into the field of art, because now with AI it's easier. So they're good, that's raising the floor. More people are becoming artistic, and then raising the ceiling, because also people which are advanced artists can do things that you couldn't do before. I'll give you an example, which we talked a lot about, is photo restoration. I remember I sell courses, and years ago I wanted to do a course on photo restoration. I couldn't do it. Because I would spend like 4 hours on a photo with a clone tool trying to get it. So I hired a professional photo restoration guy, who did this like super long course on how to restore photos. I think even an expert Photoshop guy, it would take him 4 to 6 hours to restore a photo. You can do it in 5 seconds with Google, Nano Banana. So why spend 6 hours cloning something when you can do it in 5 seconds? So that's raising the ceiling. That is giving the ability of people like me, which are Photoshop expert, but not that expert, to do stuff that I wouldn't otherwise do. And I'll tell you a little story. So my work is in 120 galleries around the world, called Yellow Corner. And 2 years ago, they did an experiment. They took 20 photos on Midjourney and they tried to sell it in galleries. And they also asked me to recreate some of my best-selling photos in Midjourney. It was a complete flop. Nobody was buying the photos. Nobody. Because, again, it's a tool. It's a tool. Like, I'm a filmmaker, and right now I have an idea. I'm trying to make like short movies with AI. And I can do stuff that I couldn't do otherwise. But I'm still writing the script. I'm still picking up the music. I'm still the human being behind the intention of the story. It's not like, hey, it's not like pressing a button, find a story, what I mean? Like, for example, if I'm working on a project where I want all the actors to play their own part, we're only going to use AI to basically, instead of doing a cartoon, we're going to use AI. So the actor is going to be his voice. It's going to be his body movement, but it's going to be AI generated, because he's going to be in a Hollywood set in 1930. So you still need to do a lot of work. It just gives me the possibility to do a movie like this for maybe $20,000 instead of $50 million. And that's kind of cool because it, raises the floor. A lot more people are going to get into filmmaking, being able to tell stories you couldn't tell otherwise. And of course, there's a danger. I think the biggest danger is the fake news, having, a lot of fake stuff all the time that looks so good that you think is true, especially with celebrities, blah, blah, blah is dating blah, blah, blah. And that's not true because it's just, AI and it's just well done. That's going to be, I already think that 30% of all Instagram is AI right now as we speak. Like just from what I can see me scrolling, it's a lot of AI and we're just at the beginning. But I think going against AI, like going against electricity, in 1886 in New York and say, no, I want to turn on, I use the torch or, I rather want to ride my horse than getting a car, I think it's a wave that's coming so hard and so fast that if you're not I think you should learn AI because if you don't, you're going to be left behind because whether you like it or not, it's going global.
And the thing is, like I always say this, and I've said this tons of times on this podcast as well, I really think that, if you're the kind of photographer who doesn't want to get involved in AI, then you don't have to. I mean, you can still, if you want to shoot film today, you can still do that if that's the way you like to work. Perfectly fine.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. So from a photography standpoint, I love getting the shot. As you said, coming back over and over in the same place. There are places in Paris I've been 80 times, absolutely, because the light is always different. And for example, there's only two things I do with AI. Is either erase elements or, sorry, I got this Mac thing going on. Either erase elements. Interesting. It's like a Mac thing. Either erase elements or change the sky. But even then, like I just did a book on London. It's coming out with Stenhouse Publishing, a big publisher. There's not one sky replace in the entire book. Everything is shot with like a Q3. Every shot is shot with Sony 7R5. Yes, maybe I use the AI to erase a few cars, but that's it. And I could do it with a clone tool, no problem. I could do it, but just AI is just faster and better, But even then, I hate to erase stuff. I really I give you an example. Let's say there's a scene and there's a lot of cars and a lot of people. But if I know I can wait 2 hours, the cars, the people will gone, I'll wait the 2 hours. I'm not saying, I got AI, so you know what I mean? I still want to get the best shot possible. But on the other hand, if I am, give you an example. I was hired by the mayor of Vegas in March last year to shoot Vegas. The first night, it's the biggest contract of my life. I became the official photographer of the city. Out of 70 photographers, I was picked as number one. What an honor! And because they really like my style of photography, they saw my New York book and my Paris book, and they wanted the same thing for Vegas. The first night, I had the police with me, the mayor office, and my assignment was to shoot the Allegiance Stadium that was just built for the Super Bowl. And they had this $26,000 drone. And then I was going to be the photographer on the drone. So there's a pilot, there's two remote. One is the photographer, the other one is the pilot. So I was the photographer and, manual settings and doing my photo because the Alien Stadium and I shot the photo and I gave it to the mayor office the same night. And they were so disappointed because that sunset was very boring that night. And we shot it right as the sun hit the mountains. And they're like, yeah, but your skies are so amazing on SergeRamelliPhotos.com. I'm like, don't worry about it. I changed the sky. They were blown away. They were like, oh, we want you to change the sky on all the photos of Vegas, which I did. I shot 3,000 photos and I must have changed 300 skies because I shot there for 5 days and I didn't see one cloud for 5 days. And so that's the kind of thing for commercial work where the client wants this. I'll do a sky replacement. It did happen to me that my gallery refused some photos saying, hey, I don't like the sky. It's too boring. Can you replace it? That has happened one time. But now I know what they like, so I try to get it right in the camera. But, I have a friend, I have an agent in Paris whose office is in how do you call it? In the a developing facility that develop film. And I had lunch with the owner about a year ago. He says, film is booming. We are developing more film than ever. He's been in business for 30 years. He says there is a lot of people going the opposite side of digital and going to film, including myself. I shot maybe 100 rolls last year on a Leica M6 Portra 400. That I developed. I have a guest room in my room where it's only film. So whether it's film, whether it's AI, whether it's Lightroom, whether it's Photoshop, all these are tools to express yourself. I'll give you an example with film. If you use a film like Portra 400 or Velvia 50, there is a color cast, man. I tell you, it's not natural at all. Like Velvet filter will give you like a magenta pink. Really? That is absolutely not natural. It's been used for 100 years. Okay, is that, or let's say you put an ND filter on the 2470 and you do a 2-minute exposure. My gosh, this is not reality. Now you just use a filter to create your own expression. So how is that different than doing it in Photoshop, Ansel Adams used to say, "You think my photos are natural? Have you ever seen a black sky?" It's in his book, The Print. Uh, you know, because he was using a red filter to make the sky black back 70 years ago. So, I had a friend in 1971 who was doing portrait retouching 21 hours with a needle to get all the imperfection off a face in 1971. You can do that in 2 seconds in Photoshop now.
Well, I mean, the thing that really fascinated me about that is I had Mark Vieira on the show, who who was George Orwell's assistant, and still photographs it the same way, like the golden era of Hollywood, back in the 1920s, 1930s, and to an extent use similar retouching techniques as they used back then. And it's just, and I've seen some of his restored prints, for example, where you can see the original, a print from the original negative post-production, pre-retouching from a Hollywood portrait taken in 1930, whatever, 1934 or something, and then the retouched version of it. And you look at it and you go, I mean, in the age of Photoshop, you're used to seeing that. But when you see that being done completely manually, with like little pencils and little brushes and needles and whatever, you think, oh, wow, this has been around since the beginning of photography, basically.
Oh, it got invented. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize this. It's like and so at the end of the day is, what do you want to express yourself? What's funny? I do a lot of workshops, and they never have sold out so fast than this year. And so, but it's crazy. Like the demand is insane, and I've never seen anything like it. And maybe I got a good marketing. Maybe I have a lot of following, but it's really, this year particularly has been faster than ever to sell out, and people are still eager to share the beauty of the world. It's kind of like fishing. You can buy you can go to there's lakes you can go to. I used to fish a lot when I was a kid, and there were lakes you can pay like an admission fee, and it's full of truths, but it's like, you want to go up, that little river, and get that truth the right way. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. People are willing to spend $12,000 to fly to Paris, get up at 4 a.m. to shoot the Eiffel Tower, on a freezing morning, and they're like so proud. They do a big print. That's not going away. That's not going away. And it's funny, I was more retouching my photos when I was younger, because I was eager to create an emotional impact. I was like, oh, I love the photo. I don't like the sky. And, I would buy sky and I would replace sky. But now I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm more relaxed. I realize I have the time to come back on the same place. And it's just like, being a fisherman, it's like the sport is, you want to go on that river, you want to put on the boots, and that's what I used to do. I used to put on boots and I used to walk up a river and get the truths. It's really hard. Very often I would come with nothing, but when you get one, you're so happy, and it's the same thing, and that's not going away. AI is just a tool for you to express yourself faster and better. That's all.
I think you're absolutely right, and it's probably because I think for a creative person, the process itself is just as important as the result.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. Like, spending $12,000 to get one photo of the Eiffel Tower at 5 a.m. And believe me, it's uncomfortable for me to get up at 4 a.m. I'm a sleeper. I hate to get up, but like Paris, I don't have a choice. I have to get up at 4 or 5 a.m. if I want to get the shot. but boy, we get incredible shots. We're just so proud of it, and so that's not going away. That's I've been doing this for 20 years, and I'm in January I'm going to do all of the Key West. I'm doing like a whole 30 days because I'm promoting a movie as a filmmaker coming out. So I'm going to do 30 videos in 30 days, and I'm going to Death Valley, Sedona, Arch National Park, Monument Valley. I'm doing a whole tour in the entire West, doing January 4 to, and I'm doing like free photo walks for people to come and take photos with me all along, like about 12 different photo walks, all in the wild, wild West. I am so excited like a kid, kind of like I've never done this before, I want to get up and get at 4 a.m. and, shoot the Grand Canyon. And then, I could do it with AI in 2 seconds and not have to go, but what's the fun in that,
Yeah. You mentioned you've got a book about London coming out. What was your, I mean, I am in London, right here. What was your time like in London? What was it like shooting London in your style?
I had while I was there, I did the book in 2 weeks, but like working 8 to 12 hours a day. And I had like 4 or 5 incredible nights. So I've got 2 cameras, the Leica Q3 or the Sony 7R5. And in London, what I did was very simple. If I was by the Thames River and there was some kind of interest, anything by the river was Sony 7R5 with an ND10. I did a lot of long exposure all along the river, both ways. But for the financial district, for all the small, I love the financial districts. I love all the north part of London, the London Borough, the Boroughs Market, the little docks along the, anything I could do. I did a lot with the like the Q3. And what I did, which I think was kind of smart, is because, I needed to get 100 good photos. And so what I did is, especially in a financial district, is I would during the day, I would find the different framing I wanted with the Q3. And then I would go on the bicycle, line bikes, 400 ISO, 2.8 or 3.5 to get a bit of sharpness. And manual, I'll be fully manual focus. And with the bike, I could get 4 to 5 incredible shots in about 10 minutes because I had a lot of London classic gray sky. And so when you have a gray sky, you only have 2 opportunities to take photos. For me, is the blue hour in the morning and the blue hour in the night. Because even if you have the worst weather of all time, you always get a blue hour. And the blue hour is after the sunset, which you're not going to see in London. But then the sky becomes blue. It's not black, it's blue, and all the city lights is on. And you get a 10-15 minutes window where you get incredible shot. And you'll see half of my book is that. And the other half is long exposure with the Sony.
That's super interesting. I will take that advice and create some imagery myself.
Go for it. And London, I'm doing my first workshop in London. It's almost sold out next September next year because I fell in love with the city and the food in London. Oh my gosh. I have some good friends there. I'm in love with London. I think it's a fascinating city.
I think you're the first person ever to compliment the food.
Oh, I found there's this chain of restaurants. It's called Otto something, some German guy. He has like his own recipe book. He's got like 4 or 5 restaurants. I went there all the time. I love the Boroughs Market. I stayed next to the Boroughs Market every morning, get the strawberry with the chocolate. They have the paella, the food, the bakery. I had a great time with the food because I think there's so much culture coming to London. You can get food. I didn't get one fish and chips, it was mostly, Asian or Iranian food but it was very interesting. And I was so amazed. I've never seen so many crane in my life than in London.
Oh,
I think London is moving more like, it's like Dubai.
It is unbelievable.
I told Photoshop, Adobe, they should create a new filter called the London filter. It's a crane eraser filter. It's called the London filter. You just click on it, erase all the cranes.
It's the area you talked about earlier, the business district and Aldgate, where the new, like the really new sort of nouveau architecture skyscrapers are. That when I moved to London in '96, that none of that existed. There was only one skyscraper, which was Canary Wharf, only one, and it basically stuck out like a needle. And I remember the first time I flew into London, and the plane, sometimes when you land at Heathrow, if you're lucky, and you're sort of in a waiting loop, the plane literally loops right over central London, and you can see the Thames River, you can see the Tower Bridge, and the Tower of London, all that stuff. And I remember flying into London, looking down and thinking, oh, I didn't realize there weren't any tall buildings in London. This is weird, right? I had a completely different idea of what London was like as a metropolitan city, and this has changed so much. So the skyline of London, how I remember it when I first moved here, was completely different from the way it is now. None of these iconic buildings like the Shard.
That's where it shocked me, but yeah. I took some cool photos from the Shard, talking about the Shard. Like, the first night I arrived, I went up to the Shard. That was my first night, crazy sunset. And, I had this device where I could shoot from the window with no reflection. And I just got incredible photos from the Shard. Boom, 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 And I don't know, I think London is going to be my best book ever. I'm very happy about the book.
I'm very much looking forward to that. That's definitely
It's my number 8 book.
When is it coming out?
On Amazon.com. I think it's coming up like tomorrow or like any day now.
Oh, okay.
Let me look it up on Amazon. But yeah, it's you can find it in Amazon, or you have this series of. It's also in this library you have in London. It's very famous, Water something or One Stone something. I forgot what it's called.
Oh, I think I know what you mean. Yeah. Okay.
Any good library?
Oh, Waterstone.
Let's see. Waterstone. Yeah, Waterstone. Yeah. See, I was not far. Yeah, Waterstone. I think it's out. It's purchased. Yeah, it's out. I bought it myself because they usually send me 3 copies. I didn't get, so I bought it. I haven't received it yet, so it's really about to release. But I'll show you some photos if you want. Like, if you want,
I will
screen and show you.
I will definitely. I will definitely put that on my Christmas list.
And you're in London and you're a photographer.
Exactly. And I always say, like, although
$46, like £40.
Totally worth it. I mean, I always say, I dabble. Well, my main job is portrait photography, predominantly, but I dabble in, street photography and cityscapes, and so any way for me to learn how to get better, that is always welcome. Which brings me to my next question. Your style. And I sort of described it as movie poster style because it has that much impact and so colorful, and it's so it has such a it comes in like whenever I look at one of your photos, it literally comes in like a bang. Why are cityscapes per se the perfect canvas for that style, do you think? Hey, let me just jump in real quick to tell you about the amazing sponsor of this episode, Platypod. Platypod offers innovative camera support systems designed to unleash your creativity. With their stable, versatile, and portable solutions, you can capture stunning shots like never before. And I'm not just saying that. As the host of the Camera Shake podcast, I can personally vouch for Platypod's incredible products. They've become an integral part of the show. In fact, I'm surrounded by various Platypod products holding up lights, cameras, microphones, and so on. It's really helped to transform the way I make the show and the way I shoot at home, in the studio, and on location. But don't just take my word for it. Explore Platypod's website at www.platypod.com to discover their range of products, including the Platypod Extreme, Platypod tripod heads, and the brand new handle, of course. Make sure to follow Platypod on Instagram and Facebook at Platypod Tripods for exclusive updates, tips, and giveaways. By choosing Platypod, you're not only investing in your photography, but you're also supporting the Camera Shake Photography Podcast. Thanks again to Platypod, our amazing sponsor. Platypod, where innovation never sleeps.
Well, because the backstory on that is, first, I'm a movie lover and I'm a filmmaker out of art. I've done a few shorts. I've shot now a TV pilot. I've done a few things, but when I started photography, I did it as a frustration not to be able to make movies. So I remember this is how it happened. I was a salesman in Paris. I was 35 years old. I'm 55 now. It's 20 years ago. And I was I was making a short movie, and I was like, my gosh, to make a short movie, you need like actors, you need makeup artists, you need a lot of things, a lot of like 5-10 people, and just to express yourself to make the short movie. And my job at the time, I was a sales deer of a company selling websites for hotels, and all our customers were in the heart of Paris, Notre Dame, Saint-Germain-des-Prés. I mean, the whole left bank, the whole beautiful part of Paris. So that's where I was spending my entire day. And it's just, when not much people live there, but you work there. I was there all day long, and it's just incredible. I mean, I think Paris is one of the nicest city in the world, and I was like, it came to me as a realization. I was like, oh well, I'm in the city. I could have to work, take some photos because it's like, it's I don't need I don't need a gaffer. I don't need a makeup artist. I can just take my camera and take photos. But since I love movies, I'm gonna make them like a Ridley Scott movie or a Steven Spielberg movie or James Cameron movie, like a George Lucas movie. Like boom, something where drama is gonna happen. So like good clouds and you know I wanted like really beautiful light. So I would never shoot during the day, and it was perfect because I would finish work. I had the Canon T2i at the time. Well, it was called the 350D, which is like what now it's called a T2i, or now they don't even sell it anymore. Now it's the R, like basically a basic Canon, and which I still have here I have it here somewhere as a memory. And not the 350D, it's a 550D. Anyway, whatever. I had a very basic $300, Canon camera with a tripod in my scooter because I was going on Paris. And after work, I started taking photos. And I loved it. It was like, couldn't wait for the end of the day to take photos. I did that for years, just for the pleasure. Then I would go home and watch tutorials and repeat every day. And I did it for many, many years.
What are the key ingredients to make a cityscape look so cinematic?
The light. It's all about the light. Like literally sometime in Paris, because there's so many things to spot, I would look up in the sky and see a formation of cloud. I would look for the light first, then find the subject. I remember this very, very famous story in my world, which is that one night I had, okay, I'm going to take a photo of Notre Dame. So I go to take a photo of Notre Dame and I'm taking the photo. And honestly, that side is really boring. And then my sister-in-law, my wife's sister, she knocks on my shoulder. She says, look the other side. And the other side was just the most crazy sunset. Yeah, but I came to shoot that. So okay, right. I went across the bridge and I took the photo. And that was very early on. And I made a magazine cover with a photo. Small, not the full cover, but I was in the cover. And that gave me so much confidence, changed my life. That photo made me decide that in this life, I was going to be a professional photographer. And it was because she told me to look the other way that then I was like, I'm chasing the light. I'm looking for the light. Then I find the subject. In Paris, you look around, everything is beautiful. So, it's all about the clouds, the light.
You've said that sometimes you go and visit a location up to 80 times. Is that to get one shot or are you looking for a variety of shots of that location in different light and different oil conditions?
Okay. So for example, I have 10 locations in Paris, Montmartre, Le Pont Neuf, the Art Bridge, for example. Let's take the Art Bridge. The Art Bridge, if you get there at 4 or 5 in the morning, you have a lot of iconic shots. Like you have for me, the best view of Paris, which is a view on the Pont Neuf and l'Île de la Cité, where the sun is rising behind with a beautiful department store called La Samaritaine. Then on the bridge itself, you have the French Academy, which is where they run all the museums in France. It's incredible with this golden dome thing. And on the other side, you got the Louvre. And so I've been there 80 times, at least. And same thing for Montmartre, because every time it's different. I want to get that special light. I remember there's one specific photo I got 18 years ago. I was driving back home and the most crazy sunset ever happened in front of me. I shot it in HDR. I've only seen it one time in 20 years. It's never come back. It was that one night. It was very special sunset, which I got it one time. And I've shot that photo over and over at least 20 or 30 times since. I've never published any because I never got that sunset back, and I don't want to do sky replacement. I never do sky replacement when I have the opportunity to come back and shoot. I only do sky replacement if let's say I go to Tokyo for 4 days and I come up at 5 in the morning and there's this crazy, crazy, crazy temple and I take a photo and I'm not coming back to Japan and and I have an idea to make it black and white with like crazy clouds. I'll do that. No problem. But if I can come back, I won't do it. I only do it on the torture, basically. It's only then I do sky replacement.
When you go to a new city, what was the first thing that
I try to avoid like the plague?
But okay.
First thing I look for is I go on locationscout.net, which I think is the best website for photographer. Locationscout.net has only pro photographer, sharing not only the photo, but how you shoot it, the exact GPS location, best time of the year, best time of the day, a lot of tips, where to park. It's an incredible. That's the first thing I do. I go on locationscout.net. Like, let's say I'll go to Tokyo tomorrow to make a book. I've never been to Tokyo. I would spend a lot of time on locationscout.net. Honestly, I also Google like the top 50 places to take photos, but locationscout.net usually is the place to go because you can make you can create, your own bookmark of, I have like a professional account. I bookmark all the places. And when you're there, you can physically see where you are next to the photo. And it's very convenient for me. So locationscout.net is what I do first, so I can see where to shoot. It's very, very, very thorough as a website.
What's your ideal shoot? Like, what's your ideal sort of time of day, gear, or like weather conditions? What makes a shoot an ideal, perfect shoot for you?
The ideal thing is to get up at the blue hour, at the beginning of the blue hour during the night. So, in case you don't know this, people don't know this a lot. So this is how the day starts. It's the night, and then it becomes the dusk or the blue hour, meaning the sky is not dark enough, it's becoming blue. And then you have the sunrise. Okay, the sunrise, the definition of sunrise is when the sun touches the horizon. That's a sunrise. Once the sun passes the horizon, you've got the golden hour. So that, usually in the northern hemisphere, the cycle is about 90 minutes. And you have it in the morning and you have it at night. That gives you 3 hours per day if you don't have an overcast day to shoot. Now, I will sometime, I love Alan Schaller, you know who that is. I'm a big Alan Schaller fan, a London photographer who does street photography. And what I love about Alan is that he gave me the idea of taking photo during the day. So during the day, it's different. I play with shadows and light. I put my Leica Q3 in monochrome, in actually ultra contrast monochrome, so very high contrast. And I walk around and I look for darkness. I look for that one shallow street where the sun cannot penetrate, but then there is a cross and you get a beam of light and one guy passes by and boom, that kind of shots. I love doing that during the day. And I want to thanks Alan Schaller for getting me into about his book. I'm fascinated. I watch his YouTube channel. What an incredible guy. What an incredible artist. And so he's inspired me to find something to do during the day, because for 15 years, I would do nothing during the day. I would just only shoot at 3 hours. And thanks to Alan Schaller, I can shoot more. Although I didn't do any Alan Schaller shots for my London book, because I didn't want to copy him. But for my own pleasure, I love the idea of playing with shadows and light during the day. I think it's hard. Yeah. But when you get one, you're happy.
So when you go out to a city like that, how much of it is sort of pre-planned and conceptualized almost, and how much is you're just finding the shot in the moment?
Well, okay, give you one statistics. I turned over 110 photos for my London book, shot like thousands, or at least 2,000. And I had like 30 spots on locationscout.net to hit in London. The rest is just me observing. I remember I went to this place called Commerce. This big place. You have the statue, the columns. It's in the financial district. It's a mall inside now where they sell watches and I forgot how it's called. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I went to shoot that, but then on the right side, you have this incredible street that looks like Harry Potter, and and you have like this beautiful sort of weird building in the back. I love that shot. I took a lot of different angles. I did a classic. I have the classic. Actually, the cover of the book is the classic subway view of the frame in the frame of Big Ben. It's the cover. But I love shooting this sort of walk-in street that's being used in Harry Potter for the train station, I think. It's I love that place. I love the whole financial district. I took especially under the rain, that was kind of fun to shoot at the blue hour with the Q3. Tower Bridge, I had such a hard time shooting the Tower Bridge. not the Tower Bridge, but the Tower of London. Sorry,
Yeah.
Tower Bridge. I had a lot of fun shooting it. The Tower of London, it was hard for me to get a good photo of that. I finally found a hotel where I could shoot it from, and so I improvised a lot. I love biking, so I bike all around the city, and I look for photos. Been doing it for 20 years, so I know what to look for. Nice buildings, and I'm like, wow, if I come at the right light, woo, this could be great. I took a lot, pub, English pub, with a Q3 at the Blue Hour. I've got like 10 of them in my book, which I really like the Shakespeare, the Sherlock Holmes. This is the bar called the Sherlock Holmes.
I've been there only recently.
Super ancient,
Yeah.
water, boom.
Yeah, it's just off of Trafalgar Square, actually. It's a great little pub. Okay, walk us through your current editing workflow, because I know obviously a lot has changed, with the arrival of AI. In fact, how much different is your editing workflow now compared to, let's say, 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago?
It hasn't that much. I always been using Lightroom Classic for, as soon as it came out. So Lightroom Classic is my flagship. And because of AI, I've been able to do a lot more. Like, for example, I hate to go to Photoshop. So now they included, generic fill in Lightroom. It's getting better and better. So now I can erase stuff without going to Photoshop and staying into a RAW format, which is amazing. They added, dust removal 2 weeks ago. My gosh. Sometimes I have a lot of dust. I used to go to Luminar for that. Now they have Lightroom, boom. Yeah. And the only plugin that I use that's not Lightroom is Luminar. I love Luminar because Luminar will do stuff to your photo that no other software can do. And if you have a photo which is kind of average, but you really want to make it pop, you go to Luminar. And then I have a whole workflow there. But I only use Luminar when heavy lifting is needed, when, it's like the sunset was not that great and you need to, but I really want to make something special. I love the framing. I love the story. My usual workflow is Lightroom. And because of all the AI feature, especially the generative AI that's in Lightroom in the RAW format, meaning you're still in RAW and you can do generative fill. I find that fascinating. The one thing that's coming out, it's not out yet, I don't think, but I know it's coming out because it's in a beta version of Camera Raw, is generative expand. That's coming to Lightroom too. So sometime, let's say that I shot something in London and like a church and there's like the antenna that's touching the top. I hate that. So I'm going to go to Photoshop and do generative create to just add a bit of sky. You can do it in Camera Raw right now. It's on a beta version and you'll still be able to do it in Lightroom. So that's going to be good.
Yeah, that's a fantastic thing, because I use it, as a portrait photographer, I use it all the time to expand the background, the backdrop and stuff like that. And as you say, I have to go over to Photoshop and do it in Photoshop currently. But again, that'd be an amazing addition to Lightroom. With
if you stay in RAW, you can change your mind on the white balance even after that.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. And that's you just have so many options. With your style, and I described it as this, the really punchy movie poster kind of style. How do you keep the balance between it being cinematic or overcooked? Because one of the things I know, with my own sort of, and anybody who listens to this podcast will tell you that I'm the worst landscape photographer, by the way. I'm a very decent portrait photographer, but, when it comes to landscapes, not so much. But I know when I first got into editing landscapes, I really, like many people, I think, had fell into the trap of like completely overcooking my images. How do you keep that balance between your style?
I'm extremely guilty of that. I was very guilty of that when I started. I try to avoid it now. Like if you look at my London book, I don't think you'll think that there's any photos which are overcooked. I try to respect what I saw. But I'll tell you a story. You see, when I started photography, I used to overcook like crazy my photos. And I would always get the same response. Oh, I love it, but you did something to it. Oh, it's Photoshop, right? Like as the first emotional response. And then I remember in 2010, I went to Photoshop World to see Scott Kelby, and I visited Peter Leak Gallery. Spent hours there. I was fascinated by the guy. He's got this crazy gallery, in Vegas. He's the #1 seller on photography on the planet. If you can ever get him on your podcast, I would absolutely watch it. I'm fascinated by the guy. What a photographer. I've got his book. I mean, I think he's the greatest landscape photographer of all time. Absolutely, no question. And I mean, he's got like 10 galleries where the rent must be $50 to $100,000 a month, and he's had it for 10 years. That just tells you how much he's selling, and just that in itself is respect, you know. But I spend hours and hours every time I go to a city where there's a Piccadilly gallery. I go there, and I remember I was listening to the people in the gallery, and his stuff. He does a lot of Photoshop to his photos, but you know what? It's at the limit of human threshold. I call it the limit of experience. Here's what I mean. People in the gallery would say, "What a beautiful mountain! What a beautiful beach! What a beautiful." They would never say, "Oh, it's photoshopped," as the emotional response. Why? Because Peterling is a great retoucher, and he pushes the colors boundaries of human experience, Earth's human experience. What do I mean by that? I mean that like when he takes a sky that's orange, it's super orange. But you know what? It's Earth's orange. It's not Jupiter orange or Mars orange. It's something you can experience on Earth. The problem with overcooking your photo is you get into Jupiter and Mars and you get into stuff that just don't exist. And when you do that, people respond to, you know, and so I do a lot of coaching every week. And I try to coach what I call the natural drama. So the natural drama is you want to go super dramatic, but stay natural. And even today, sometimes, you know, when you retouch, your eye adapts to the color. And sometimes you don't see that you went too far. So what I usually do when I'm done retouching, I'm going to wait for my eyes to adapt to other color. And I come back to, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I went too far in saturation, sometimes I'm like, but yeah, that's what I try to do. Natural drama. It's like, I mean, look, I live in Florida, and on Clearwater Beach, I made a sky collection here. Some of the most crazy sunset I've seen in my life are in Florida because you're right on the west Gulf of Mexico, and I get 100 a year, and they are red, like red. And so when you manage to capture that red and that orange, and you really truly put it on the file in the right way, it has to look, what I mean is like, it's not because something is extremely saturated that it's fake. The mind can see that when something is, for example, I have a lot of my students, they take like sort of golden hour or daylight photo and put like a sunset over it. And it's like, it just doesn't match. Like the sky doesn't match the shadows, and like, even though you can't tell what it is, you can perceive that something's wrong with the photo. So I try to teach a style, which is not, we want the super dramatic, but we want to stay natural. We don't want people to say, like, and it happens. Sometimes I show my work to my wife or my daughter, and she's like, oh, it's great, but it looks over retouch, I'm like, shit. So then I dial it back, and then it's a daily struggle. That's all I can say.
Yeah. There's sort of this thing where, of course, if you want it to look, like it's like it has a very definitive kind of almost like, cinema lot style, like if you watch like a movie like Alien, for example, where everything's a bit green, all the skin tones are green, the shadows aren't really black, they're kind of greenish, because in the movie it makes sense, because it's that feeling of unease and sickness, and that's basically why everything's green. If you want that kind of look, I think the eye recognizes that as almost like a fake reality, but when something's overcooked, it just doesn't look like it fits. It almost like it looks like it's supposed to look real, but it doesn't,
Yeah, but then on the other end, and I used to love HDR, but the crazy one, the Photomatics one, the one that looks like a painting, I used to love that 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And even today, I promise you, if you take like 10 photos and 2 of them are like extreme HDR, and you show them to photographers, they will hate the HDR. They will say, it's ugly. If you show them to non-photographer, they'll pick the HDR as the best photo. And do the test.
Yeah.
Photographers hates the HDR, but non-photographer loves it.
Yeah. And HDR totally.
I don't like it. Like, I have a guy. there's a guy, he's selling on his work on Etsy, and it's so HDR. It's like, it looks like a painting. I hate it. I don't like it. I'm not saying who it is, but I don't like it. I told him repeatedly, but it's like, hey, look, it's selling and I love it. I'm like, good. All right, let's go. I mean, at the end, it's your artistic expression. I don't like it. I wouldn't do it, but I did it for years. And,
Yeah,
it's, I changed style over the years also, Right now, my thing is natural drama. I want to capture the best possible light, do the best possible retouching so that it's like super impactful, but it doesn't look overcooked.
Yeah.
That's my challenge. Sometimes I fail at it, but that's my challenge.
Which Lightroom or Photoshop tools do you think are sort of essential for your style?
Lightroom. Oh, which tool in Lightroom?
Yeah. Which tools specifically?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, 100% the local. I mean, the local adjustment tools like the gradients, the fill, gradients, brushes, and circles, because you can locally do the whole dodge and burn game. Darken around the photo, brighten, darken some part. The eyes goes to the bright spot of the photo. So that's the oldest trick in the book. That's what Ansel used to do. Ansel Adams is to darken parts of the photo to guide the other viewer. He didn't like to have something very bright at the bottom of the photo because the eyes get stuck there. You want something bright in the middle and everything else to be kind of darker. So, and then also with the local adjustment tools, you can, make a skin, you probably do that, as a portrait photographer, make the skin better or make the mountain looks a bit more pink or get it sunset locally to look better. So that's my biggest tools. I'm an expert in all these local tools, and that's why I teach the most.
Yeah, I mean, in Lightroom, for me, the AI masking.
And then Photoshop, I don't use Photoshop. Yeah. Oh, I do the AI masking all the time now. So I do this landscape masking where the AI is going to study your photo and say, this is the sky, this is the mountain, this is the water, and it does all the masking for you. And then you just have to change colors. Oh, that's actually, I added that about a month ago in my workflow, and I teach it in every video that I do now. It's like this AI landscape stuff, amazing.
Do you get creative plateaus sometimes? Where you get to the point where you just go, I think I've just plateaued and I need to.
Yeah, I mean, like for example, right now. Yeah, I mean, I'm always excited to do photography, but sometimes I'm a little bored because I've sort of mastered what I do. I've sold literally, thousands of photos. I've done 8 books. Like, I've had a good success in that. So I need to be challenged. And so right now, my 2 biggest challenge is AI and Alan Schaller. Two different opposites. What I mean by Alan Schaller is like being able to take photo during the day, playing with lights and shadows. So it's more a composition trick. Although I try to do the Alan Schaller thing, which is like find darkness, find a beam of light, go -3, in exposure composition. So you really underexpose your photo and you get this sort of very dark photo with a beam of light. I love that stuff. So that's a new challenge for me because I'm not good at it. And then AI, but AI filmmaking, I am excited about life and about art like 20 years ago when I discovered AI filmmaking. I am so into it. Like I spend every night 2 hours of training on AI filmmaking. I want to make a movie in AI. I love it, but I want to do it. You see, I love Pixar and I love cartoons. Back in the day at Disney, they used to like almost oil paint, the drawings. And then they started using, then they started taking photos of it. And then they started, digitalizing them and using a 2D software. And then they did the 3D software. And now they have Unreal Engine. And, the tools have changed. But at the end of the day, Pixar, it's always an actor who's giving the voice and sometimes the expression. So I want to do the same thing. Like if I make a movie in AI, the voice will be the one of the actor and the movement will be the one of the actor. But the rendering, instead of using Unreal Engine, will be VO3 or Kling or, Suno, whatever big AI thing is out there, to just render the character. Why? Because nobody's doing it. If you look at the best animation right now, the most expensive cartoon ever was Arcade, over $200 million. That amazing TV show on Netflix, but it's very cartoon. It's very science fiction. Then you have Ghosts and Robots also. So it's very cartoon, but that's like considered to be the best high-end cartoons. And then you have Disney, who is doing like the Jungle Book, where they take one boy on a green screen and everybody else, all the animals are 3D. but nobody, I remember when the Polar Express came out with Tom Hanks, everybody was like, "Oh my God, they look so much like humans." And now it's like, you look at it, it's like, compared to AI, it's a joke.
Yeah.
So nobody has ever done like a full short where the humans are like 95% there. Like, AI is even more realistic than Unreal Engine meta humans. Unreal Engine meta humans are like the best 3D humans you can do right now. They do that in like animes, a video game. It's good, but I would say it's 80% realistic. AI, like Suno, VO3, are like 95, 99% realistic. And so doing a full feature film on that would be exciting, because, I'm working on this project, I'm working on a project which is a whole movie about movie stars. And it's a story about a big movie star and a pool guy. I wrote it for, a current era, but now I'm rewriting it from the 30s, because I want to try to do it in AI, with the whole, Clark Gable walking the shops, and Alfred Bogart and Errol Flynn, and, and the whole aesthetic of Hollywood of 1935. So, I'm excited to do that. I don't know if I'm going to pull it off. Right now, I'm just learning. I don't think AI is as ready to make a full feature film. I think in a year we'll be there. So right now I'm just learning, but I want to be among the first to be able to do that. I would love to do that.
What movies specifically or directors have influenced your aesthetic? Would you say?
Well, the aesthetic, I'm a big Steven Spielberg fan. In the aesthetic, like, I think the Raiders of the Lost Ark, like, aesthetic is incredible. Like, the way he shot the desert scenes, and it's just, I really love that aesthetic, because they shot everything on film with, nothing is there's no bokeh, everything is sharp, everything is like F16, F22, the depth of field is huge, so everything has to be perfect. And so that's my favorite thing. I love Star Wars. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I've seen every Star Wars. I mean, the original ones. The original Star Wars, 13 times. Like, New Hope, Empire Strike Back, and Return of the Jedi. I like the 1, 2, 3. I did not like I like kind of the 6. I didn't like the kill Han Solo by his son. I thought that was stupid, and I hated the last 2 Star. Absolutely hated them. But that's just me. I don't know. I grew up with loving Han Solo and Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker, and the fact that they made Luke Skywalker, a grumpy hermit, was like, what a stupid move. What a stupid move. It's like, how can you kill things that billions of people love?
Yeah.
I don't know what got into Disney to approve that, but they should have. I know George Lucas left some notes, about how he saw the 6 and 7. They should have followed that. I really didn't like the storyline. I love Rey, though. I think she's amazing as a Jedi, but I did not like. Sorry, I'm going on a Star Wars rant right now.
That's all right.
I'm hoping that Bob Iger is watching it, and he's like, yeah, he's right. We should redo them.
Wait, so the thing about them,
let's make another $3 billion.
I tell you what, the thing about The Force Awakens was, I loved the aesthetic of it. I really thought it looked much more like the original series, because the thing for me, I think we're not too dissimilar in age, actually, because I grew up with the original Star Wars trilogy, and I've always loved the kind of really used look, the dirty look, the fact that it looked so different at the time. It looked so different from just about any other.
It looked aged. It looked like it looked aged.
Yeah. Everything's broken. Everything's a little.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I didn't like about.
And then the thing about
I love that. I thought that was so real.
Yeah, it's the thing about the prequels, with Anakin Skywalker and so on. I just thought it looked too clean. It was too nice. And to me, it lost that Star Wars vibe. So I was never into 1, 2, and 3, and I always had some issues with some of the characters, like
100% agree with you with that. Yeah, Jar Jar Binks,
yeah, and then when The Force Awakens came out, I thought, the first time I saw it, I thought, well, okay, we're back. Everything looks a bit shit. Everything looks broken. Fantastic. And then you're right, the storyline then didn't it just didn't keep up with it was such a great chance. I thought it was such a great chance.
I love The Force Awakens until they kill Han Solo. I was like, what? He gets killed by his own son? Like Princess Leia and Han Solo had a kid, and he's an asshole? I'm like, what a bullshit storyline. I was so upset about that. But you're right. Everything else was incredible. And I remember I was so disappointed by that on The Force Awakens. And I don't understand why George Lucas, who did the original Star Wars, he's the one that came up with this brilliant idea of making everything dirty and broken. It just gives such a reality. He's the one that directed 1, 2, and 3, and he made it so shiny and new. I'm like, why? Why did he decide to do that? I don't understand. That makes no sense to me.
And plus, at the time,
because he was the same guy.
Yeah, And I think the thing was he wanted to use CGI, which was this sort of the new technology at the time, to its full potential. I remember seeing an interview with him, and he said something along the lines of like, this technology allows me to make the movie that I saw in my head when I made the first 3 movies, but the technology didn't exist at the time, But and although some of the sequences when they first came out in the early 2000s were kind of mind blowing, but when you look back at it now, it doesn't really quite, it doesn't quite stack up. A lot of it now looks all, like it looks sort of like shitty CGI, but it's one of these things.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, I mean, he could have just, add a lot more, dirt on the texture, honestly. I think the reason why he did what he did in Star Wars is because they were doing it for real, and they wanted to hide stuff so that, you put dirt everywhere, you put algae, you put stuff, and a lot. But I think it's great because it showed, like, I don't know. I didn't get into the 1, 2, and 3. I still think 4, 5, and 6 is the greatest movie of all time. Force Awakens, incredible. But then the 7 and The Rise of Skywalker is the worst Star Wars movie ever for me. Like, she lifts up a finger and she destroys the entire 10,000 spaceship. It violates the definition of a game. You see, in screenwriting, you have a definition of what a Jedi can do, what a Sith can do. It's kind of balanced. You know what I mean? It's kind of like Spider-Man. Spider-Man can lift a car, but not a bus. You know what I mean? Because that's his limitation. He's strong. And so that if he's fighting against somebody who can lift bus, he's in trouble. Because, the barrier, you know what I mean? So when you start, like, it's like even in the Obi-Wan show when, like, Darth Vader starts, like, pulling back spaceships, I'm like, why you didn't do that in The Empire Strikes Back? You could have, like, you know what I mean? It's like, all of a sudden they have this huge power and it just doesn't, it's like, it's a violation of their own universe, and then because you can only root for the hero if you think he's going to have a hard time making it. But if he's like, okay, now he can just lift his finger and destroy 10,000, I was like, I'm out of here. I was like, you don't believe it just gets you out of the world, because all of a sudden the balance between barrier and freedom is violated. There's so much freedom, and it's like,
and also you can
kind of like the Avengers, if somebody comes in and can just,
because you can only
sorry, but I'm passionate about this.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, we could make this whole episode about Star Wars. If you could look around me, you'd see lots of Star Wars references. In actual fact, let me see. We've got Baby Yoda there.
Yeah.
There's a variety of other things around the room.
Well,
hey,
father.
Ooh, check it out. That's really cool. That's actually very cool. Hey, cool.
Yeah. I bought it in Paris.
Oh, it's one of these things. I think
I'm a big fan of The Mandalorian. I think there's one man that can save Star Wars, and his name is Jon Favreau. And if you listen to me, Disney, just get Jon Favreau involved in anything you do in Star Wars, and get him to be the quality control of everything, and you will be good. He is the one man that can save that galaxy.
I'll tell you a funny story actually about The Force Awakens. So I live a couple of miles from Pinewood Studios, all right, which is like, where I live, this side of West London is basically as well the movie studios are. Pinewood Studios down the road, and we've got Warner Brothers, the other side of just a few miles down the road. And when they were filming The Force Awakens, and of course I didn't know that they were filming The Force Awakens at the time, but I remember driving past the main entrance to Pinewood. And there was a queue of about, I don't know, I would say 18-wheeler trucks, all fully loaded with sand, queuing to get into the studio area, right, through the main entrance. And I remember driving past, I think, like, what? Why do they need so much sand? Like, what are they doing with all that sand? Turns out, they were shooting the opening scene in The Force Awakens. Do you remember where there's a desert planet and the stormtroopers come in and they attack this village? And he's gonna save. He sends BB-8 away with the plans and all that kind of stuff. So that scene was shot in a parking lot of Pinewood Studios. They basically emptied out the whole parking lot and filled it up with sand to create this desert scene, this desert set. And so as I was driving past, I was literally driving past all of the sand trucks, But little did I know. I mean, I only realized that much later when the movie came out. But yeah, it's very close to. And Elstree Studios, where they shot the original, the very first Star Wars: A New Hope. That was shot at Elstree Studios, which again is just down the road from where I live. So yeah, there's lots of Star Wars related stories on there.
That's cool. I have a funny story on The Force Awakens. When they made the premiere in Hollywood, I used to live in Los Feliz, which is 2 miles away from the premiere, and I was in bed with my wife, and I'm looking on social media, and I see that tonight was the night of the release of The Force Awakens. It already has happened. Like, it was during the movie was being shown, and I'm like 10 minutes away. I'm like, I told my daughter, she's a youth fan, so like, let's go. Maybe we can meet some of the cast and crew, because everybody was there. Like, everybody was there. And when the movie's done, and so we got there, and I don't know how we just arrived there, a Hollywood Boulevard. We come into a place. A minute into being there, J.J. Abrams walks up behind me to get into something. I'm like, and they won't let it in. I was like, he's J.J. Abrams, he's the director. So they open for him. And within like 5 minutes, I see Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg. Like, I couldn't believe it. Everybody was there. I just got like at the right time, at the right place, got to meet everybody just for 5 minutes. But I saw the entire cast in 5 minutes. Yeah. It was my daughter, and we were like, what? And anyway, I was a bit disappointed by Harrison Ford, because there was a girl next to me. She had a big picture, and she said, all I want for my birthday is a photo with Harrison Ford.
Yeah, and I think Harrison Ford is notorious for like not being, not being willing necessarily to do interviews. Nice about that. So yeah. All right, let's bring it back to photography for a minute.
I think he's an incredible actor.
Oh
yes, sure.
I love him in absolutely everything. No doubt. But okay, let's bring it back to photography. Now, the thing that really fascinates me about you is you build a brand around fine arts, books, education, and YouTube. Was that intentional or was it an accident?
It was a bit of an accident. So here's the backstory. I'm fascinated about filmmaking, and I'm fascinated about CGI. And in 2010, this software comes out called Blender. You probably heard about it. It's a software to make. It was pretty young back then, 2010, and so I Googled how to make Blender. I want to make a spaceship in Blender, and I found this website called tuto.com, tuto.com, and it was selling a tutorial, and I bought the tutorial like for $40, and it says you can sell your knowledge here. And I was at the time I was a salesman. I really wanted to get out of my job to become a photographer. And I said, I could maybe sell tutorials on photography, because I was getting good. And I started, it was French only. And I started doing the tutorials, and it went viral. Within 5 tutorials, I was the number 1 on the platform. I was like, what? And then I sort of, I guess I have a talent for it, because, mine are bought more. And it started to become a decent income. I was like, that could be a business that enables me to take photos all the time. I'm like, I'm in. And it's actually, I made a lot more money selling my photos at first. That's a whole different story. But it was first selling my work. I have a very funny story on that, how I, at the age of 40, basically was able to make it as a photographer, but I had this idea of the tutorials because of that website. So I was number one, but it was very little money because France is a small country. It was not enough. I made a lot more money selling my work than doing tutorials. And then it's only years later when I went on YouTube that it exploded. But it was this Blender tutorial that gave me the idea. But yeah, I mean, the story, if you want, I can tell the story of how I managed to quit my job with 4 kids at the age of 40 to become a photographer. That's always, I find, it's the story that I'm the most proud of because it's a funny story.
Yeah, go for it.
Anyway, I don't know if we have time for that, but I can tell you. Well, at the age of, I'm 55 years old. I was born in 1970, and at the age of 35, I discovered photography. I fall in love, and from 2005, 35 years old, to 2008 or 9, I'm watching Scott Kelby, mostly the Photoshop guys, every night. I'm taking photos every night, and I'm starting to make a collection of photos, which is pretty impressive. 5 years just doing that, watching tutorials, taking photos, and 9 to 6 at work. But I'm so in love, and but I have 4 kids, and they're teenagers, and I have I have to pay for the big house, 2 cars, 2 bikes, I'm barely going paycheck to paycheck. I was making okay money as a salesman, but I was surviving okay, but could, hardly go on vacation. It was not that great. I was like, I can't I was telling my wife, I want to be a photographer. She's like, yeah, but we got 4, And so at the time, the company was thinking about selling the company, and the owner was generous to say, look, if you stay with us another year, I'll sell the company. I'll give you some shares. And that should give you about $200,000, which should give you enough money to buffer your life so you can, be a photographer. And anyway, that was 2007. I stayed one more year. 2008, he was like, no, we're not selling the company. Sorry. You got to find us a solution. And so I'm like, okay. Then I was so desperate. I want to sell my house. So in May 2008, I go see my wife. I said, let's sell the house. I should get about $200,000. That should give us enough money for me to figure out how I can make money as a photographer. And but my wife is like, yes. My wife's always been with me. She's like, but we need to paint the house first. Make paint the house. We put the house on market in September of 2008. And you know what happened in September 2008? The biggest real estate crash of the last 3 decades. It's called the subprime. And then the house wouldn't go. It was an incredible house, 20 minutes away from Paris, in a garden with wood. I mean, the easiest house to sell in the world would not go for a year and a half. And I started going into a depression. I was like, I am jailed by my financial demands. I will never be able to be an artist because I have to provide for 4 kids. Maybe I'll do it when I'm retired or something, but I can't do it now. And then one guy one day, a friend of mine, gave me a pep talk. And I remember he was living on the 4th floor of a building, and he gave me a pep talk saying, you're an amazing salesperson. You did really well in that company. I don't know, he just gave me a pep talk. I was literally crying because I couldn't be an artist because I had to go to work 9 to 6. And as I walked down the 4 stairs, I was like, wait a minute. I know a lot of wealthy people, and I have a collection of photography that's, pretty large by now. My friends are extremely wealthy people selling Paris to the world through their hotel. So I had one guy in mind, which I know was renovating a hotel for $4 million. And I went to see him. I said, I have an idea. My dream is to become a photographer. What if we put one huge photo of mine in every room of your hotel, and it becomes the identity of the hotel, breakfast everywhere, the whole idea. I'm like the artist of the hotel as part of your renovation. And he loved my stuff. I knew he loved my stuff. And I was very honest with him. I says, you give me $1,000 per photo, I'll make a nice profit. And, that way, if I do that with a few hotels, I'd have enough money to, resign from my job and be able to be an artist. Like, let me think about it. He calls me 2 days after. He says, one thing you don't know is I don't have one hotel. I have 2. And I really want to help you. I love the idea you want to be an artist. I'm going to buy 88,000 euros a photo from you, and you're going to do both hotels. And I was like, what? And so he gave me, that's $100,000, in dollars currency. I went to see 4 of his friends and sold $160,000-$170,000 of photography. And then about a year after, I got a huge contract with my publisher. So I started making a lot of money with photography, so much that I had to move out plan my move to Hollywood because tax got so crazy. And then I started a tutorial business later on. But my main core business, my first big income with that. And then I resigned from my company like right after, because within, what's crazy if you look at it from like a destiny viewpoint. It's my photography. It's not my house. It's not the share. It's my photography that gave me the financial means to quit my job and become a photographer. And then I started doing interior design photography, and then I got the galleries contract and the tennis contract, and then my tutorials started doing well. And now I have this 10 people training company. It's a big company now. But it started with the fine art, by that first contract. And then I made like $500,000 with 10 Hours Publishing and Yellow Corner and other things, just selling my art online. And then I moved to the US. And then I was like, oh, I got to teach people how to do that, and that's how it started. But I thought it was very ironic. I still have that house today, by the way, which I'm selling, and for a lot more money, because, now we are 15 years later. And so very happy about that, I'll tell you.
What would your advice be for photographers who are wanting to turn their passion into a full-time career? Like, what advice would you give somebody who now, come to you and say, like, I really want to be an artist, but like you said, I have a family, I've got kids. What is it that I can do to make that passion a reality?
Study marketing and sales to find out how you can monetize. I got 17 different income sources with my photography today. 17 checks I'm getting. Scott Kelby gives me lots of money because I have 7 courses, which is going to be one, plus other things with Scott. I do, Photoshop World. I do the landscape. I do all the conventions with Scott. That's a very nice income stream. I've got Yellow Corner. My galleries giving me quite a bit of money. I got 10 Hours Publishing. I work with Luminar and I do tutorials for them. I license my Luminar to different companies, including Adobe. And then I've got technical books. I have books with, different publishers. And I've written articles for magazine, where I get paid $500 for an article. And I got 17 different income sources just on my passion. So you have to learn how to monetize your passion. You have to learn. I have a buddy of mine. He was a banker, Clifton Haley. He created an Etsy store. It's got 700 photos. He makes $60,000 a year with his Etsy store. He used to work for Chase Bank. He was making $40,000 a year. He's making $60,000 a year, selling photos on Etsy. Plus, he got an incredible contract with family care. Home for all the people, the biggest chain in the U.S. That brings him almost another $150,000 a year just shooting these places, and it's a very part-time job. He goes on missions and he shoots this. It's one client. So Etsy, plus now I'm hired him as a coach, and he's already got 6 or 7 different income sources. So you have to study how to monetize and how to sell your work. You're a portrait photographer. You could sell courses on how to do that. You could do workshops on how to do that. You can sell the work yourself. You can license the work. There's so many avenues. But teaching is a good one. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Teaching is a good one. If you have a passion for teaching, if you have a talent for it, it's a great way to make income. I do make more income today from teaching than I make from my own art. Although I do make good money from my own art, but the teaching has become huge. I've got 10 full-time employees just for the teaching part. Coaches, support people, people that set up workshops around the world. It's a lot of, I have 10 families to feed on the teaching, And then I got a different company, which is my royalties as an artist.
Teaching is generally a great thing.
But I'm living the life, man. I've been doing this now full time since May 2010. I feel I retired in May 2010. I get up in the morning and I'm like, Like, I give you an example. I just got hired by Luminar, big contract, to make a course, and they want me to shoot something with winter. So I'm like, right now I'm looking, where can I go in Colorado to shoot some snow, And I'm going to fly with a cameraman who's flying from Paris to shoot me in Colorado. I mean, it's great. I love it. I love that life,
I want to talk a little bit about your books. How do you turn? What are the steps you have to go through to turn, like let's say a personal city project into a marketable book? What is the process for that?
Oh well, I work with 10 Hours Publishing. So 10 Hours Publishing is the same publisher in Alan Schaller, to give you an idea. They are in the top 5 biggest publishers on the planet. They've been doing World War II. So they are a huge marketing machine. Like, for example, all my books were printed 7,000 copies. All of them were sold out. But like they have contracts with like Banana Republic, who buys my first two books. Were 2,000 copies were bought by Banana Republic because they wanted 4 books on every store. So, and Barnes and Nobles gets some, and Waterstone gets some, and then so it's one of the biggest publishers on the planet. So I don't have to worry about that. I just honestly, it's not really well paid. It's my least royalty line. I get $3 per book, and they sell for $40. And but every book is so end up by selling 7,000 copies, so I'm $5,000 per books maybe at best. But I've done 8. It's my smallest income source is the books, but I love it. I love seeing my books. I go to Waterstone in London and I see my books on a shelf. I love it. I was in Banana Republic last week. They have 3 of my books in Tampa. I love that. Barnes and Nobles and Fnac in Paris and all Amazon, and it's kind of cool. I love this is my New York book, for example. That's my latest book. I've done 2 books on New York. That's my book on New York. So it's big photos like this, and these are the smallest one. My original books were much bigger, but anyways, I love making books. I collect books from other photographers. I have Alan Shallow's books, Peter Lick's books, Ansel Adams books, Clyde Butcher books. Anybody who makes a book, I buy it. I love collecting photography. I collect books from photographers. I have a whole collection at home. I would never buy another photography photo, but I'll buy his book and I'll buy his tutorial. That's the 2 things I'll buy from him.
Yeah. How has YouTube changed your business in a creative direction? Like, what sort of impact did that have when you first went onto YouTube?
Oh, it's been huge. It's been. I mean, I got on YouTube very early. I got a big following, as you know, 640,000. But YouTube is totally changed. I have a big problem because on my channel, I have a lot of people. I'm a dinosaur in the world because I started my channel in 2013. It's been 12 years. And yeah, I grew up to 600,000, but the algorithm has totally changed now, where back in the day, in 2013, 14, any video I would do would get hundreds of thousands of views, and it would just fill up my business like crazy. And now subscribers don't matter that much. It does matter a little bit because I've got different channels, and I can see that the main channel, when I post a video, it gets a bit more chance. But now every video is on its own. I'm getting a lot less views on YouTube than I used to. Like now, if I make 30,000 views, I'm super happy. Back in the day, nothing would go on under 200,000 views. And I know a lot of people left YouTube because of that. They grew to big channels and their views were going down. A buddy of mine, he's got 6 million followers and he makes less view than me, a lot less view than me. But he makes a lot of videos, but they used to, same thing. So the problem with social media is that they change the game every 2 years. And now YouTube has this thing, and most social media have that, where you get a little boost because of subscriber, but then every video is on its own, And but I love it. I've always wanted to be an actor, so being able to have fun on YouTube, I love it. I am, in fact, the whole idea of I told you I work for that French website, but in my mind, I was never going to be able to sell a tutorial in English to start with because I'm French speaking, and 2, I was like, who's going to buy from me? I also got very lucky with Apple. I had the first Apple training app on Lightroom. Went crazy. I made $600,000 with that app at $6 a pop because I was the first app training people on Lightroom. It just went viral. So I got very lucky there. But I was like, I'm never gonna, I'm not a brand. Nobody's going to buy from me. And 4 videos into my YouTube channel, I get a call from the Da Vinci School in Paris. The Da Vinci School is the biggest marketing school in Paris. Huge buildings, 2,500 students. And they said, we love your YouTube channel. We love your humor. We love what you're doing, although it was in English. So they asked me to come. I went there and they gave me 6 students and they said, you need to build them. And we know you're selling tutorials on tutorial.com, but you need to sell tutorial in English. But I said, yeah, but I don't have, tutorial.com had a big budget to get people to come and buy. I'm like, my website has 1 visitor a month. I'm like, okay, we got to give you 6 students, and it's a business school, and they're going to build your business for a year. They're going to create a website for you. They're going to help you do your first course. They're going to get you to collect emails, and they're going to teach you the business. And boy, did they teach me the business. That turned out to be, that's why I have a business today, is because of that school. Because the launch was more money than I could ever dreamed. And then I started hiring a lot of people, and I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. Like, I didn't do this for the money, you know? Just so you know, I turned on a big bit, which I can't talk about, but probably lost 10 to $20 million to become a photographer. A huge business opportunity in the other business I was doing that I turned down, and I knew it was going to be good. I didn't think it was going to be that good, but I don't care about the money. I do care about the money today because I got 10 families to feed, and I want to, I have to register, I have to do my workshop. It's more toward them than anything else. And I know Scott is the same. Scott Kim is a good friend of mine. He's got 40 employees. He could retire 10 years ago, but he's there for his people, and also for his students. So I love to teach. But yeah, that's cool. Really helped me build a business around that. But as I said, the first 3-4 years, most of the money came from the books and the sale of fine art prints. The teaching came after.
Now, you do a lot of workshops, of course. What do you think photographers struggle with the most in your workshops?
Composition and shooting. I've got like two types of people in my workshop. I've got super expert people, and they just want to be with me at the right time, the right place. They need very little guidance. They just want my expertise on Paris, for example. And then, although I'm very picky on composition, so I always suggest stuff that they didn't see. And then I've got pretty beginners who are like, I bring them at 5 a.m. in front of the Eiffel Tower. And I'm like, shooting like on tripod at 8,000 ISO. I'm like, no, you don't need to be at 8,000 ISO. You're on a tripod. Let's shoot at 100 ISO. F7. It's going to be a 2-second exposure, but that's good. Yeah, but you don't have a self timer on. Okay, let's put a self timer on so you're not touching the camera when you take the photo because it's going to make it blurry. Oh, your autofocus is off. Like, so sometimes it's very beginner stuff, and but they are, because I'm sitting next to them, like these are very beginners. They come out with like gallery, like I've seen a lot of that where people are like so blown away. I had a guy 2 weeks ago. Funny story. The guy is a billionaire and went into a heavy depression. He sold a bank and he was like, had more money than you can dream of. And he was like so sad because he went from a very busy life to, traveling the world, making deals, to golf. And he went crazy. And he, started having heart issues. He was praying every day to find salvation. And he found photography and he found me. And it really gave him a new slant on life. And he came to New York. And after the New York workshop, he says, my buddies don't believe I took these photos. Because I'm sitting next to the guy. He had a Leica, billionaire. So he had a Leica, F3, like a $12,000 setup, which he didn't really know how to use. But I'm like, oh, but like, go F7, go do that. And look, and then I coached him and he was like, he came back. We retouched the photo together. He was great on retouching. I was very surprised. And he said, like, people, I took these photos. It's like, you have no idea. Like, my whole family thanks you because now I get up in the morning and I want to live. I'm like, you're welcome. People need game in life. I think the biggest problem that people, especially retired people, is being bored. Photography is an exciting game. You're chasing the light. It's an incredible game. It saved my life. I was bored like shit before I became a photographer. I was a salesman, but I kind of enjoyed the job, but I was bored in life. Photography gave me like something to dream about. I'm doing this. I'm just dreaming about this. Although I've been to Grand Canyon, but I've never been to Arch National Park, about this big trip I'm doing in January. Like I think about it at night. It just gets me going, gets me want to get up in the morning. I love it.
Yeah, it's. I got a call a couple of years ago from my friend Dave Williams. He asked me to come up to the Lofoten Islands to help teach a workshop photographing Vikings or Viking models in their natural habitat in Arctic Norway, basically. Teaching on location lighting and
Wow.
Things like that. And I had exactly the same feeling. It was like, this is like an adventure. Of course I'll do it. 100%. Sign me up right now. I'll fly out there. Absolutely. I mean, even
yeah. I mean, I yeah. I agree. I'm taking 25 people with me. I have a fully sold out workshop for Yosemite, California in June. June in Yosemite, California, the water is very high. So the Merced River, all the waterfalls are, you just have the snow that just melted a month before because it's pretty high up and pretty late in the year. And I'm excited. I'm excited. I've been there many times, but I'm excited with 25 people. I have 5 instructors. We're going to take amazing photos. I love it, and it's a complete adventure to me.
Yeah, and that's always to me, that's the interesting part, and it's the adventure part. And I have to say, if you ever get a chance to photograph Arctic Norway, it is phenomenal. It's like you're at the very edge of civilization out there. It's like
it's on. Yeah, is it even further north than the Loftofen Island?
It's the
Loftofen, which is like the classic Norway.
Yes. Well, that's exactly where I was.
Where you were. Oh, I've always wanted to go.
It is unbelievable. I mean,
you were there. Okay.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's like, I mean, literally, I can only describe it as the absolute edge of Western civilization.
Is there a lot of snow when you went there? Did you go in the winter?
So I've been there twice.
Did you go like in the winter time, or was that like?
Yeah, so I've been there twice now. It's the first time when we did the workshop. It was in October, early October. Yeah, early October. And so imagine there's snow there for about 9 months of the year. I think snow starts to melt in like July or something, and then throughout August and September, it's this snow-free season. So it's basically Arctic tundra. Lots of moss, black granite rocks. It's it's an unbelievable landscape. It's very beautiful though, because if you imagine, like, if something's covered in snow, I mean, it's also fantastic, but it's basically white. It's basically white. That time between August and the end of September, I would say, first half of October, it's actually a very beautiful time because there isn't any snow. And when we were there, it was the very end of that season. You could already see the snow roll in. In fact, I remember we could see on the horizon, some of the islands that you could see on the horizon, they were already starting to get covered in snow. The snow was coming. It was just around the corner. But doing the workshop at that time was very, very beautiful because you've got all the earthy colors, the mosses, the dark granite, the sea. It was beautiful. And then I went back with my wife actually, the year later, earlier this year, and that was full on snow, all out, blizzards, freaking snowstorms, and it was phenomenal. I mean, again, it's like an adventure, it's a fantastic adventure. It's some really great photographs.
Yeah, I want to go. I'm sold.
Oh, 100%. It's totally, completely worth it. Where do you think photography education itself is heading? With AI and everything nowadays. So in the era of AI, where do you think the educational side of photography is going to head to?
I think it's heading towards just more teaching because, as I said, people still want to, travel the world and take that photo of, that Patagonia, mountain at 5 a.m. So, they want to learn the latest AI tool to make it better. But like, I see a lot of my students, they're like, I like AI, but just to erase stuff, I like sky replacement, but I don't want to avoid it. I see a lot of people which are in the same spirit than me, which is the name of the game is try to get the best possible raw file, do the best possible retouching and give it justice in Lightroom. And then, yes, they can't go back. I see a lot of people. So they're just new tools. I've been teaching these tools for 15 years. They're just new tools to teach, and I'm, don't want to brag, but I'm at the cutting edge of that learning curve. I'm like spending 20 hours a week learning AI, like at a very high level. I'm buying all the AI course I can get my hands on, doing them all. And I love it. It's a different way to express yourself. But did you know that you could go to Photoshop right now? You load a portrait of your wife and you press Control A. You choose Nano Banana as an AI and you say, she's dancing with Taylor Swift. And you press Enter and you will see the most photorealistic of your wife dancing with Taylor Swift. And that's been since about 3 weeks in Photoshop. And it works like crazy.
That might very well become the thumbnail of this.
Nano Banana, your wife is Taylor Swift, but...
Well, yeah.
Anyway.
All right. I tell you what, we'll finish this episode off with a quick fire round. So here's 6 questions.
Okay.
Quick fire round. Paris or London? Which city wins for photography?
Paris.
You had to say that. That's all right. Sunrise or sunset?
Yeah, come on. I lived 44 years in Paris. I love London, but like Paris has more variety of photography opportunity between the old part of Paris in Montmartre, the Seine River, the Saint-Germain. Like it's got more picture than London.
Yeah.
And also London was a lot destroyed during World War II. And Hitler loved Paris and said, don't touch Paris. And, that has a big role to play, We still have a lot of monuments from Middle Age that you guys don't have,
Yeah.
So Paris.
Paris is a beautiful city. I've been to Paris a couple of times. I spent 5 days of it. This was in a previous career as a session musician. I spent 5 days in Paris. I recorded an album in Paris, and I thought it's a great opportunity. I spent 5 days in the basement of a studio recording. That's all. And I went around the Arc de Triomphe. I went out for dinner once. That was it. And then the only other thing I saw was the Gare du Nord. That's it. That's all I've seen.
That's the worst part of Paris.
I know.
I know it's the worst part of Paris.
I know. So, all right. Next question: sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise for quality photos, sunset for easy photos, where you don't have to get up early.
Cool. Wide angle or telephoto?
I hate lens? Early, but you get a better photo.
Wide angle or telephoto lens?
Wide. 24 millimeter is my 24 millimeter is my favorite focal distance. 24.
Perfect.
I like 24.
One Lightroom tool you absolutely cannot live without.
The brush tool.
Cool. Tripod or a handheld?
Handheld. Hey, tripod. That's why I went to Leica. 1.7, baby. You can open at 400 ISO and shoot till like 11 o'clock at night in London without a tripod and get incredible photos.
Cool. Last question. If you could only shoot one city for the rest of your life, which city would that be?
I have to say Paris.
Of course.
Paris.
Of course.
So I love Paris. I really do. I'm...
Of course, you're biased,
Yeah, Paris.
Cool.
I'm 100% biased.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for being the guest on this week's Camera Shake podcast.
Yeah, thank you. I love that discussion. It was very interesting. I will send it to me. I'll send it to my followers and on my email, and because I think people will know better who I am with this interview. I thought it was great.
Okay, folks, that is it for today. It was absolutely awesome having Serge on the show. A deep dive into shooting cityscapes, mastering dramatic color and light, and creating that unmistakable movie poster look. Before we go, though, let me just recommend another episode I think you'll love. Check out episode 266, where we talk about how collaboration can transform your photography with Mark Wallace, packed with tips you can put into action right away. If you enjoy your content, consider supporting us on buymeacoffee.com/camerashake. It really does mean the world to us. And it helps us keep creating more exciting episodes for you. And don't forget, head over to camerashakepodcast.com and sign up to the mailing list. We've got some incredible stuff coming very soon, and you'll be the first to hear about it. Very important. Make sure you head over there and sign up to that now. For those of you listening to the audio version, did you know that there's a fully fledged video version over on YouTube in full Technicolor with plenty of examples of Serge's work over there? So just search for Camera Shake Podcast on YouTube and you can watch all past episodes over there. If you're already on YouTube, however, drop us a comment, hit the like button, ring that bell, and share with your friends. Your engagement helps us reach a wider audience all over the world. So thank you for listening and watching. And remember, a new episode drops every Thursday. So make sure you mark that in your calendars, diaries, whatever your kids use these days. Till next time, keep shaking things up in the world of photography. See you next Thursday.